So, a few things before I start. First of all, we might be interrupted because I'm out here waiting for my car to be worked. Actually, I'm swapping out my tires. I have winter tires on the car right now, and I'm waiting for Mavis to swap the tires for me. So, as you can see, there's a Mavis behind me. I don't know if you can see it here, but anyway, we might get interrupted. They might call me and tell me, come get my car. And you know, I just figured I got like probably 2 hours to kill. What should I do? Shoot a video, because I never go anywhere without my camera. I have my 28mm f2.8 Minolta vintage lens with me, which I generally have on my camera, I would say 85% of the time. It's considered a wide-angle lens to me, and generally it's as wide as it gets for me. I don't really like to go much further than 28, but for some people it's not wide enough. And I think in certain situations, of course, real estate, you know, tight spots, you know, sometimes you do need a wider lens. And if I'm working on something where I absolutely need something wider, I'll either just rent one or I'll go buy a cheap, you know, really wide angle lens and just get the shot that I need. And then I'll have it in my arsenal, but that hasn't come up yet. Usually 28mm is fine. So that's really kind of what I wanted to talk about. You know, it was kind of on my mind. It's like, what's really cool about wider lenses, you know, I guess 28 and wider, because to me, 35mm is like where you get to the mid-range kind of more normal, all-around kind of shooting lenses. And 28, 24, 18, 16, that all gets to wide and ultra-wide and fisheye and all that kind of stuff. So I think wide-angle lenses are the most flexible because, like, especially if you have a lens that could focus really close. Like, for example, I came out here, and just a quick aside, my mother used to always tell me, actually my grandmother used to always tell me that wherever you are, if you ever find a penny with the head up, then that's good luck. And look what happened. So I know I'm in a good place, and I know I'm probably doing the right thing here today. And I'm grateful to stop for a moment and think about my grandmother, who was the closest person to me in the world and my best friend. And I'm digressing, but she was also that person that really felt like blood to me. Like, you know, I was adopted and fostered, and, you know, my grandmother felt like she was really blood related to me. Like, I felt so connected to her. Like, she seemed so much like me in spirit, like we were truly kindred. And it's been very rare for me in my life that I've felt that. So I digress. But I like wide lenses because if they can focus closely, and also, you know, obviously, you know, when you deal with infinity focus and stuff like that, if you're zone focusing, or, you know, if you're doing like kind of mid-range type of stuff, more normal, you know, 5 feet, 8 feet away, and if you're doing something like this, the cool thing about a 28mm wide angle is that it doesn't really give you that crazy distortion, you know, that kind of mouse look, you know, that weird fisheye kind of thing. Like 28, you could still do portraits of somebody and they're going to look pretty normal. You know, they're not going to look weird and crazy. I mean, of course you're going to have some distortion. You know, it's not going to be like a 50 or an 85 or something like that, but it's going to be pretty normal, and it's just not going to be distracting, put it that way. So I think that's kind of a cool thing. And obviously the advantage of a wide angle lens is you could pretty much capture anything that you want, you know, I mean, within reason, you know, but pretty much any kind of scene, especially if you're doing narrative work or documentary work, you know, a wide angle lens is pretty much going to cover you for pretty much everything further than, you know, 5 feet away. You know, if you're looking to capture a scene, like I'm looking at this other auto place out here, these houses around here, you know, it's pretty easy for me to capture that. And I really like that. I think with 50 and above, you're more limited. Then you have to really start thinking about moving your feet and getting away. And, you know, I guess you have to do that with this lens if you want to, you know, get something that's closer, feeling more enclosed. But of course you can crop, especially if you shoot in 4K. So you have that advantage again with the 28, with a 50 or an 85 or a 105 or 135 or above or whatever, you really got to start moving, you know, which is not a bad thing. And, you know, it's a great part of filmmaking to move around. But, you know, 28 millimeters is much more flexible, in my opinion. And in my case, with this Minolta lens, it's a vintage lens. I love the character. It actually reminds me quite a bit of my Helios lens. When I really, really want to deal with a, you know, a tiny little depth of field and get that blurry background, this lens really gives me that. And the colors out of this lens are really cool and interesting. The flares are kind of interesting. So I love it. I love it. I love the flexibility. I love the character of it. And I also love that the build quality on it's amazing. You know, it's a solid lens. Again, it's a Minolta Telesor 28 millimeter f2.8. It's vintage. It was my father's lens. I love that too. That I'm kind of like, you know, going back into my past, and you know, I didn't have the greatest relationship with my father, and now I'm using his lenses. I got a 28 and a 50 Minolta Rokkor that were his, and I just shot a whole feature film using just those two lenses, and that's kind of cool. So, but that has nothing to do with this video. So yeah, I'm out here waiting for my tires to be changed. I've been running around with snow tires all winter, and now I feel like as it's getting warmer, the ground is just eating up my tires, so I want to put on these all-weather tires and swap them out, and I'll put the winter tires back on next year, and just trying to maintain the car as best I can. So anyway, I think I might be grabbing a 7 Ttartisans 12 millimeter T2. I think it's a 2.9. And it's more of a, you know, obviously it's a T instead of an F, so it's a video lens, and it's an APS-C lens. So on my full frame camera, the Panasonic S5, it'll be an 18 millimeter, and that'll give me a much wider view. It's not a fisheye. Supposedly, I've never used it. I don't really know anything about it other than videos that I've watched, but supposedly it's also, you know, much easier and lighter in terms of distortion and chromatic aberration and stuff like that. So I might wind up picking that up if I feel like I need something ultra wide. I've kind of scoped it out. But again, I've never really come across a moment where I felt like I needed more than 28 millimeter wide. I mean, if I was a real vlogger, I would probably, you know, want something wider. Maybe I would have the, you know, the Panasonic 20 to 60 kit lens, because that's got 20. But I think the 7 Ttartisans APS-C lens would be good for that too. But I don't really vlog like that. You know, I don't walk around carrying the camera around, and I don't really do that. You know, when I do talking head stuff, I usually set it up, and this is as close as I'll get to the camera. And this is perfect. You know, you can see behind me, and you know, my head is not that gigantic in this frame, although it is pretty big, but you could still see part of my upper body. And so yeah, 28 millimeters, my vote for the best wide angle focal length, the most flexible, the most neutral, the one where you can pretty much do anything. You know, it's like a jack of all trades, kind of master of everything. I like it a lot. I think 24 is wide, you know, that's it. But right at 28 is probably the sweet spot where you could use it wide, but you could also use it the same way you would use a 35, or maybe even, well, I'll stop there. So anyway, thanks for spending some time with me while I'm waiting for my tires. I'm going to end now, because now I feel like I'm about to enter into just blabbering mode and talking about nothing, and I'm not going to do that. So please subscribe, and please hit the like button. And see that? They texted me and told me my tires are ready. So thanks so much, and have a beautiful day. All of that. All right.